He's an attorney, and he's Jewish. And for an attorney, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
For a Jew, he's just kind of okay. All right, let's bring it up. Come on, Crockett!
I guess at that intro, shalom. You guys ready to laugh some more? Doesn't really fucking matter to me if you're not, because I got some help. Yeah. How's your summer been? Yeah? Who the fuck are we kidding? We're adults. Unless you're a teacher, there is no difference between summer and any other season. In fact, for parents, all summer means is that you move from government-subsidized daycare to do-it-yourself daycare. I took my kids on the first week of summer to the Nixon Library. Can you believe there's a government-funded building for the worst former president we've ever had? He even has some elementary schools named after him. You realize that one day our current President Trump may have some elementary schools named after him? Yeah. Your kids can go from can go to Trump Elementary and learn how to spell cat, end up graduating from Trump University learning how to grab pussy. Even though I was taking my kids on these field trips, they were still making noise, making chaos. I had to put a stop to that. I sent them to overnight camp so that my wife and I can have a little peace and quiet and maybe some sex with each other. Now, I love my kids, but they are just dream killers. Before kids, we would go out for dinner, we'd travel the world. Now, it's cook for them, clean for them, chauffeur them around, do their homework. It's a good thing I got a wife. Now, I'm progressive, we both help out, but I'm gonna get my wife a wife. Then we both be happy. I'm actually get my wife's wife a wife. That'll be like Brigham Young. But don't bring him too young. I am no Jeff Epstein. That guy, Jeff Epstein, he went to jail for hanging out with teenagers, and he died hanging out in jail. Now, I had to send my kids to sleepaway camp. When I was a kid, my parents sent me to sleepaway camp, and if I didn't write home, they had no idea what was going on. But I was so lazy that I had to bring pre-printed letters with blanks and multiple choice things to fill out to send home. It would say like, "Dear blank," and I would write, "Mom and Dad, I enjoy eating breakfast, s'mores, the swim instructor." Man, oh, I miss that swim instructor. She taught me so many good jokes, so many good strokes. Nowadays, our kids go to camp, we still don't know what's going on, but the camps post photos of the kids on Facebook. And my wife and I spend every moment of free time hitting refresh on Facebook to look for some evidence that our kids are still alive. If we see a picture of them, we're like, high five, there's Arden, she's still alive. Now, we also have to put our Sherlock Holmes hats on because we look at those photos and try to discern their very well-being. Marla will look at a picture of one of our kids and say, "Oh my gosh, Remy, she's so lonely, she has no friends." Like, Marla, she is on top of a high dive. It is a solo activity. She'll look at another picture and say, "Arden, she looks so sad." Like, Marla, how could you tell that's a picture of a back of some kid's head? It's not even our kid. Now, our kids came back from camp and they had learned so much. I had one kid learn how to make kombucha. The other one taught me, which is nice, that's alcohol. The other kid came back and said, "Dad, I have a new word for you. You know what you call the skin on the end of your elbow? Anyone know this? It's called the weenus." That's an awesome word, because you can rub your weenus. You can stretch your weenus. Sometimes it's soft and sometimes it's hard. The older you get, the lower your weenus hangs down. I was on an airplane last week, and of course I had the middle seat. And I was fighting for that armrest with the lady next to me. And you know what? As we were fighting, she touched my weenus. And you know what else? I touched hers. Let's see, summer. What else happened this summer? My dad almost died. That was fun. No, come on, I said almost. It's okay. Story has a happy ending. He's sitting here looking like $1 million. Yeah? Hey, actually, I'm only in line to get a third of that. He's sitting here looking like $300,000. What happened? Earlier this summer, I was visiting my dad, and he had a ventricular tachycardia. That's basically a heart attack. 20 minutes later, we're in the back of an ambulance on the way to the ER. All the cars in front of us are spreading like the Red Sea for Moses, except all the lawyers that were chasing us from behind. We get to the ER, and we're met by his cardio team. There's an internist to check his blood, a cardiologist to monitor his heart, a pulmonologist to measure his breathing, and a nurse to wash his balls. She was called an erectologist. Now, he was going to have a procedure that required him to be sedated. So they gave my dad a mixture of propofol and fentanyl. This is powerful stuff. This is the same drug combo favored by Michael Jackson. Now, the side effects were my dad became 5 shades paler, his nose got smaller, he got a cleft chin, and he had the urge to moonwalk. Billie Jean, not my, I didn't say it gave him a good side effect. So while he's sedated, the nurse tells me and my dad's girlfriend that we should talk to my dad because he could hear us, but he wouldn't be able to respond. That put a huge smile on my dad's girlfriend's face because my dad is a stubborn son of a bitch. And as soon as the nurse left, my dad's girlfriend laid into him like Mount Vesuvius on Pompeii. And when she was done, she clapped her hands, looked at me and says, "That felt better." And when she wasn't looking, my dad opened his eyes and said, "More propofol." No, it really just goes to show you that to have a healthy relationship, it's good to have an open line of communication, especially helps when one of you is in the medically induced coma. So my dad, to help him breathe while he was sedated, had to be intubated. This is when you put a tube down your throat and it helps you breathe. Intubation, the tube goes in. Extubation, the tube comes out. Intubation in, extubation out. Intubation, extubation. You do it enough times, pretty soon you got masturbation. You know what word is not in my iPhone's dictionary? Extubation. I know this because I wrote an email to my brother and sister telling them that my dad was to be extubated on Sunday, and what my iPhone interpreted that was my dad's extinction was scheduled for Sunday. That was awkward. So my dad finally is extubated. He starts to come out of his sedation. I'm sitting by the side of his bed, and he coughs a little bit, and he says, I said, "Dad, how am I? How are you? You've been in a coma for 5 days. You came out of it, everything's great." He shook his head a little bit, said, "No. Dad, everyone's fine. The kids are at camp. We're doing great. We're just happy that you came out of this." Shook his head one last time, put a smile on his face, said, "Where's the ball washer?" My dad got a bill from the insurance company, or from the hospital, for $350,000. The insurance company negotiated that down, sent my dad a copay for $50. That's it, $50. 3 meals a day, get your balls washed twice, not a bad deal. While my dad was sitting and recovering, we had a long conversation about some important things, probably stuff we should have talked about sooner, but about what to do when that day comes. Dad says to me, Carl, I want to be cremated. I said, okay, Dad, that's fine, I get that. But what if you're on one of your round-the-world trips, you're on a cruise and far away? What should we do with the body? Dad says, well, just ship it back. I says, yeah, Dad, you're like a 200-pound guy. Think we can just ship the ashes? Stick it in one of those prepaid envelopes. When it arrives, we'll just stick it in the dirt and away we'll go. You know, you can actually turn your remains into a diamond. Makes sense. A diamond is pretty much just compressed carbon, and we're carbon-based, right? Gives you the option that one day I might turn my mom into a diamond. I mean, she's already a jewel, but I would take that diamond and give it to my wife. You see her wearing that? Oh, Marla, that's a beautiful diamond. She said, oh, this little thing, it's my mother-in-law. It's a little bit flawed. Well, it's quite large. Yeah, all that guilt adds so much weight to it. You know, as you heard, I'm a Jewish attorney. As a Jew, I have been to unfortunately, many funerals. Jews have a lot of interesting customs, burial customs. One is that you got to bury the body fast, usually within 24 to 48 hours. My grandfather died and they buried him so fast, made your head spin. Went to my grandma, I said, why did they have to bury Gramp so quickly? She said, well, he might have been sleeping. Another custom is called the Shiva. The Shiva, if you don't know, is basically like a Jewish wake. It is a 7-day mourning period where well-wishers can go to the grieving family's home and give their condolences. Because there is nothing like throwing a 7-day party on 24 hours notice to get your mind off your sorrows. Now the food at a Shiva is great. They've got deli platters and whitefish and lox and a dessert table with babka and a honey-baked ham. No, you wouldn't have a honey-baked ham at a Jewish Shiva. Everyone knows the first rule of kosher is no pork, except for bacon and Chinese short ribs. Without that, we would starve on Christmas. The second rule of kosher is don't mix your milk and meat. There's an ethical reason about that. You don't want to mix the calf in the mother's milk. And in my house, that's why we also don't pour almond milk on our granola. Now, I was at a Shiva recently, and there was a guy sitting by himself. He's going through 3 or 4 plates of deli food, not talking to anybody. He stands up, walks over to the dessert table, grabs a babka, sticks it in his pocket, and walks out the door. I was like, holy shit, this is genius. This guy's a Shiva crasher. There are so many reasons why Shiva crashing is better than wedding crashing. First of all, the food is to die for. Thank you. Secondly, you don't have to be invited. Anybody who knew the deceased is welcome. Third thing, as evidenced earlier, you don't have to know how to dance. For me, that's a good thing. Fourth, for you single people, there's usually a number of emotionally vulnerable single girls who can go up and say, hey, you come to Shivas often? Because you are drop dead gorgeous. There might even be a newly, freshly minted widow who just came into some money. You know, this was so genius. I think for my next summer vacation, I'm gonna line my pockets with Ziploc bags, grab the obituary section, and hit the Shiva circuit. Thank you guys very much.
Okay, everybody.